Hello and welcome to a quick demonstration how to get started with Acterys Premium. Initially we just log on to the Acterys Modeller after we went through the onboarding and have created an account. As you can see, this is using your normal existing Active Directory or Microsoft accounts. So in my case I will log on here with. So here we see now the initial environment where you can manage all your models. In this video, we will demonstrate how to generically create models. The process is even easier with the connectors in the integration menu for the supported accounting systems, but let's assume in this case here, we're not using one of these systems that we support with Acterys connectors, but we have to start from scratch. And we do this using the Cube Wizard, which is the generic tool to build Acterys model, and as you'll see, it is pretty easy and straightforward. We have now different options to connect to the source. This could either be a relational database, it could be Power BI tables, or this could be Excel. For this training, we will use Excel. So we'll just point to a typical data set, in this case an accounting data set that contains GL, general ledger transactions for a group of companies. And this is a typical format as this data, in which this data is stored. So we can see now here the format of this table. So we have the identifier of the company, and then we have a lot of other columns, time periods, a wide variety of columns, and then also the value of the particular transaction. So this is now a sample of all the transactions in this table, and we're using now this table as the basis for our Acterys model. So the first name is just to specify a cube name or a model name, so we call this finance, and now we just need to specify what our model looks like, and this can now either be dimensions that structure your model, so for example the company. This could be time periods, where Acterys will automatically create time hierarchies that can then be used for time intelligence that contain the time aggregations. We can specify the granularities. Let's say we want to do for our model here, do this on a monthly basis for forecasting or planning. We want to start at a particular time. Let's say we want to start in 2016 and we want to project forward to 2022. And our financial year starts in July. This could be obviously anything. This means it will automatically generate the right aggregations for financial year analysis. The next thing is we have a dimension for the account. We want to analyze by account, so we make the account name the key identifier of our dimension, but then we also want to use attributes like hierarchies or additional information for the accounts dimension. So we want to use this column here, account code, as another column in the account dimension, the account name dimension. Let's say we also want to use the account class as a hierarchy. We don't need to use these ones anymore because we have already created our time dimension. But then we have here a column that specified what is the type of data we want to use this as a dimension to store our scenarios. And let's say for the moment we're good with this. The only final thing is to specify the column that contains the value. So this is how easy it is in Acterys to create your model. So you can see now we have a 4-dimensional model with the dimensions organization, account, data type or scenario, and then the time period. So we let this now work away. So here we can see now our new model called finance. If we have a look at this, we see that it's using the 4 dimensions, organization, account, data type, and date. Physically, the relational fact table is called cube_finance _WB. If you want to have a quick look at the structure, we can just, for example, take now the data type in the columns and the account name in the rows, and now we see what data is in the cube. but we can also edit the model. So for example, if you want to add additional scenarios, at the moment we only have actual, you can just say here, we would like to, in our new model, have additional scenarios. And we call those budget and another one for forecast. So this is it. The next step is now this relational star schema data warehouse, either in the cloud, that's the default in Azure SQL, and what Acterys automatically generates for you, or in your own SQL Server environment, can now be accessed by front ends. And the front end options, you can see those in the download section. So you can download here the respective Excel add-in that you need, and you can also download the different Power BI visuals. So we'll do this for the moment, and we have a look at how you can get started with Power BI. So you just download this visual. So now we have the visual, which is a normal custom visual file, and then we switch to Power BI. So now we have our model, we can just connect to it in Power BI. The first thing that we need to do is we need to add the visual. So we just point to the visual that we've downloaded in the download area. This is the matrix. Whatever we do works in a very similar fashion with the 4 other visuals. So with comments, visual planning, and table edit, the light visual doesn't require any authentication, so there it's even easier. So now we now have our visual there, and then the only thing left is the data source. We just connect to SQL Server, put in the database name for the cloud. That's always Acterys database.windows.net, and then the database is your database name, which always starts with AP. In my case, this is Acterys demo. So then typically for write-back purposes, it's better to turn on direct query. So we do this here. And now we can connect to the Acterys database and the model that we've just created. So now this is getting loaded here. Now we see the content of the database. So this could be now a variety of different schemas depending on the sources that you have added. So for example, if you've added Xero, you will have all the tables from the Xero accounting systems or QuickBooks or WorkflowMax or others. And the generic model tables typically start with OLAP. So the only thing we have to do is we have to select our cube, which is the one that is called finance_WB, WB for write-back. So that's a convention that applies to every cube. So it's always this prefix and this suffix. So to get the related dimension, we can just select the cube and then click on select related tables. And the only other thing that we have to do until Active Directory authentication is supported in the Power BI custom visuals is to add the service account table. So once all those are loaded, this is all we need. So this should be finished any second. So now we can see the cube table and the 4 dimension tables here. All of them have this OLAP prefix that specifies they are not coming from one of the standard connector sources, but our generic model, in this case created by the Cube Wizard. So, and now to get things going, the only thing is we're taking the Acterys visual and now taking the amount and putting it into the values. So we've put the amount in the values, and now we can just put the dimensions as we need them. For example, if we want the hierarchy from name to account class, we can do this here. If we want to see a comparison of actual and budget, we can put them in the columns. We can take now the date that we want in the filters, for example, the year month. And then the only thing left is the authentication. Here we have to do a bit of a workaround because at the moment visuals don't support the Active Directory authentication, which Acterys already supports. but this should be coming soon. So in the meantime, you have to take from the service account table the key, put it in the key, the name, put it in the principal user, and for the user, for the moment, we can either use the user principal name function in Power BI. The thing with that one is that will only work in the service. So to demonstrate things in the Power BI desktop where we are at the moment, I will just create a hard-coded user. So I will add a measure here now. This measure I will call user. Which I call user, and then just hard code the username, Acterys demo at Microsoft.com, and that's the last entry in the list, the current user name. So I just put this into the current user, and then the only thing left is the cube name, which is finance in our case, and the database name, which is AP Acterys demo. And that's it. So now we have immediately our planning form. So we can drill down into the detail. We have our scenarios here. If we want to show actual and budget, we just have to turn off the zero suppression, because at the moment in the matrix by default you have zero suppression, so I just will turn this off. So here we have now the two empty scenarios. The only thing left is we can format this a little bit nicer. So let's just make this a nice number format here. For example, currency and 0 decimals. So now I can do my planning. So for example, for expenses, last year we had actuals of 6,300, this year around 7,000. And we can just enter my numbers here. Let's say for cleaning, we have minus 500. And we can see now we have a total of 6,500. Now I can do the same thing also on the total level, but I need to turn it on. So to allow the entry on aggregate levels, this needs to be turned on in the grid UI. So we go here to splashing at parent level is turned on. So now we have here our results, and if we now click here, we can say, okay, this we want to change to 7,000, which will increase the underlying values. Once we hit refresh, you get the message here, the notification that for the splashing to be visible, you need to refresh. So we are refreshing here now. And now we can see the value here. The table is still refreshing. So if we go down now, we can see now the distribution of the new value. The same thing works with relative changes. So if we put an I in front of it, that's the relative change. After the refresh, that's also immediately applied to the detail level. So this was a short overview of how you can start with Acterys in just a few minutes, build your model, your cubes, your dimensions with the cube wizard, then download the Acterys Power BI visual and build your initial data entry, forecasting, planning form in Excel. All this in less than 10 minutes. For any further questions, please don't hesitate to contact our support team, or if you want to try it out, start your trial account in our free onboarding process.